I am Bridget Thorson. I'm the Director of Collaborations for the Institute for Nonprofit News. INN supports more than 420 nonprofit news organizations in North America, primarily in the US. And specifically, my role in collaborations is to support the members who are eager to collaborate with each other. And there are so many, and I see many of you on the call today. Thank you for joining me. Where we stand right now, we've done place-based collaboration projects. We have the Rural News Network, and this partnership with RJI has been really beneficial, as you'll hear about at the top of today's call, in identifying sort of where our members are eager to go next. And our collaborations are not specific to nonprofit news outlets, but really open to anyone who has a mission fit with the impact we are seeking to make. So today's call, please feel free to raise your hand at any point, ask your questions in the chat. We will have breakouts at some point. If you're in a place where you're not able to talk, that's fine. You can just hang out in the main room while we're having those breakout sessions. I understand sometimes the need to join calls on the go. But really today we're eager to hear from you. I mean, this is about collaboration. So we're going to share sort of where we are with this particular project, where we'd like to go. But if you have any questions, if you have anything you'd like to discuss with this group, please feel free. So with that, we are looking to, we have done this work coming together to create a resource for community-centered newsrooms to help them build impactful journalism collaborations. And this is something I've certainly been hearing time and time again. People are really eager to work together. And sometimes there's just sort of that initial hump to get over in terms of the how. And so we're hoping this resource, which we want to come out with early next year, in spring probably of 2024, will allow that work to happen. So you can see where we've been and where we're going. We're smack dab in the middle of the process now. And this is where we're putting together a pilot collaboration. And before we get to what the pilot collaboration is going to look like, Kat, I don't know if there's anything you want to share about the process so far before we delve into what we learned from the interviews.
No, I think we've had some great students helping us. A lot of you were interviewed by us, which was great. We learned a ton. And we have also tested a little bit at the CJS workshop for those of you that were there. I recognize some of your names. And we will share a little bit of our takeaways so that you know where we're headed. And if at any point you guys have questions or you're not sure about something, please feel free to write it in the chat. And whichever one of us isn't speaking, we'll make sure we flag that to answer it right away.
All right, so the interviews were completed in the spring of this year. We conducted hour-long interviews with 39 newsrooms. You can see the location breakdown here. We intentionally tried to have a really healthy representation of local outlets, but certainly they're all over the board. And then we surveyed more than 60 additional newsrooms. We had, I want to say it was more than 100 outlets applied to participate in the interview process. I forget the specific number, but it was a really healthy amount. And the interviews were absolutely fascinating. As you remember from what we asked you, we talked a lot about not only how to go about collaborating, what advice you would have for collaborators, but also what to know in terms of fundraising, what to know in terms of topics you would like to pursue. And so there were some themes that really emerged. Kat, if you want to go to the next slide, that we can talk about. So here's what we heard over and over, and feel free if any of this is sort of resonating with you to add your thoughts in the chat, because this comes directly from our conversation. First of all, the definition of collaboration is really, shall we say, flexible in the industry. Some people are using collaboration to describe co-reporting partnership or co-publishing partnerships, where each newsroom is producing their own work and then they have an agreement with another newsroom to publish that work. Some of them are going a bit deeper and working together on the reporting. And then there's kind of the deepest structural level, which is where organizations are actually sharing resources behind the scenes to make that reporting possible. But within that sort of broad range of definitions, a lot of the interest we kept hearing was that whatever level you're at, whether you're doing very much like separate reporting, but working together to do publishing partnerships, or if you've got some sort of deeper behind the scenes collaboration going on, people are interested in moving to the next level, right? And there's a lot of questions around how to do that in a way that is efficient and effective for the newsrooms involved. I forget who exactly said this, but one of the people we talked to said, collaborations feel like dessert, right? It's like, if you have the time and the money and the appetite, maybe you go after it. But it's not really part of the, shall we say, meat and potatoes of the daily work of the newsroom. And that can manifest itself in many ways. I'm sure people on this call have had it manifest in many ways. But one of sort of the key questions I'm asking as part of this partnership is, what does it look like to create collaborations that aren't a nice to have, but instead really serve the core mission of the newsroom and the communities that you serve? What are the biggest challenges? Communication, communication, communication. And that was probably, I would say, Kat, the biggest piece of advice people were giving when they were talking about people, who are maybe thinking about collaborating, just the importance of having real clarity along the way, almost like redundant over communication clarity, so you don't run into pitfalls and obstacles. And then also project management, and just how incredibly important it is to have someone who's able to steward it along and do all the glamorous logistical work of wrangling meeting times and deadlines and all that good stuff. Funding really came close, and in particular, something we heard a lot of people say is that they feel like when it comes to funding for collaborations, they really want funders to understand how important the operational support is, because it does take so much time and energy, and how beneficial it would be to have ongoing support. I'd be really curious to hear, by the way, and feel free to pop this in the chat, if any of you feel like you would love funding for a project management position in your newsroom, or if it really is the sort of back end stuff that you're more interested in. Feel free to share or just message me. And then finally, and Kat, I think you would be well equipped to speak to this, this idea about what is the purpose of collaborations. Kat, you want to take that one?
Sure. And I do see a couple raised hands, so I will click on you in a second. So something that a lot of newsrooms talked to us about was that the collaborations were something that they did because they love to collaborate. They love to work with other newsrooms. You're more likely to get funding. You're more likely to get awards for this work, but that they didn't actually serve the communities in a way that is additive to what they would have just served the communities if it were just a project that you did on your own. So a lot of the newsrooms we talked to said, we really want these collaborations to serve our communities in additive ways beyond how we would serve them if we just covered this on our own. So that is something we're really thinking about, is how to measure impact, how to make sure that collaborations aren't just helping newsrooms get funding and awards, although those are both wonderful things, but also how do we serve our communities better through working together? So that is a big part of what we're going to be exploring as a part of this. And Susan, I see you. I have clicked to let you talk. So if you want to share or ask your question.
I probably am doing this too quickly. I should probably just wait until you go through it a little more. I guess I would add to what you were saying is that, also how it covers the topics that we need to cover, Anyway, I think I'll wait on my question until we get a little further along. I think you'll probably answer it as we go.
Yes, absolutely. And we're happy to chat more. We also heard from newsrooms that because of the different ways that we all define collaboration, some newsrooms felt like they were covering it in very different ways than the newsrooms they worked with. So a huge part of this is communicating with each other and making sure that we're all on the same page from the beginning, which is a big part of what we'll be doing as a part of this pilot, is testing different ways and methods of making sure everyone's on the same page from the beginning. We've thought through all the challenges and bumps in the road so that when you actually get to do the collaboration, all you need to worry about is that journalism and serving your community and making sure it's really impactful and meaningful for your newsroom and your community. So we will be putting you in breakout rooms theoretically. I do not see the option to make breakout rooms. Bridget, do you? I am not sure.
No, I don't.
Showing up.
Yeah.
All right, so hold on. I am going to stop sharing for just a second so that I can see if this is a setting I can change on the back end. And if it is not, we will just share publicly and there will be no problem with that.
Yeah, and while Kat's looking, I'll just sort of set us up. We're looking to have those interested and able on the call talk to each other, whether in breakouts or maybe in the whole group, just sort of about how you would answer that key question that we sent around previously. And just as a reminder, that key question is this idea: what change in your community as a result of your participation in this journalism collaboration, if you were to participate in our upcoming pilot, would mean the most for those you serve? And I just want you to know this discussion is designed to be an example discussion. If you end up in a breakout room with someone, it doesn't mean you're going to be collaborating with them on the pilot project. We'll get into the details of the pilot project next, but we really did want to have some time to just showcase what it means to sort of talk through these issues with other outlets, just to see sort of what questions come up for you. So again, no pressure. We're not forcing you into a collaboration right now. This is designed to be an example exercise.
Okay, so for some reason, sorry guys, it does not seem like that breakout rooms are available right now. So we will be doing this as a group. If you would like to share in the chat, or if you would like to raise your hand and talk, what we're looking for is part of how we're building this pilot is that we are having newsrooms answer this question. And this is not a way for us to, this is just for us to feel out what change in your community would mean the most for who you serve. And then matching up newsrooms who can work together, who have the same mission and values. So it's more about finding alignment in how you guys want to serve your communities to help match up newsrooms who are all working towards the same goal, even if they don't know it yet. Susan, would you like to speak? Go ahead. No?
Is that, I'm not sure if there's other Susans or if you mean me.
I mean you, yes.
Okay. Hi, by the way, it was nice to see you after meeting you in Washington, D.C. That was really great. So I guess I'd like the idea of a collaboration that we could all make a bigger impact all together. And for us as an environmental organization, you know, it could be around this Columbia River and all the issues around the Columbia River, whether there's all the energy projects that are starting to develop along there, or the impact of biodiversity because of all the human pressures. You know, we're in a very popular area. And so I guess, you know, I could go go on and on, but maybe that's a start. I guess just as far as the change, I guess that it would change people's behavior, pace their participation in things.
Mm-hmm. So more of like civic engagement, getting people to be more participatory in those issues. All right. Anybody else want to share what change you are striving for in your newsroom for your community?
Thank you for getting us off to a real strong start, Susan. Appreciate it.
Jennifer Hack, I'm now going to say your last name so you know who I'm saying. Jennifer, would you like to share?
Yeah, I right there with Susan on seeing civic engagement and participation as the change that we can see as a result of collaborations. And for the Beacon, we're a small nonprofit newsroom in Kansas City and Wichita, and we do a lot of community engagement work. And so for us, when we do collaboration, the focus is on reaching audiences we wouldn't be able to reach on our own. And very often for us, that involves some kind of a product shift. So working with unexpected products that might build capacity in our team to do things in a new way and help us, you know, kind of humbly go to new audiences and think about how we could better serve them. So all of that for us is about looking at communities we haven't served well yet, and how we can work with them to build a sense that journalism is a part of those thriving communities.
That's great. Wonderful.
I love that. So real quick, Jen, would that be then the change is basically that people have more options or better options to access the reporting that you're doing? And is that basically what you're talking about for them?
Yes, but there's probably a step before putting the options in front of them, which is helping them kind of through a trust building and moving towards a mindset shift that shows that information is necessary, and that journalism, it might be one of the solutions that they're looking for in their community.
I love that. Thank you. And by the way, everyone, it doesn't have to be just us asking questions if people have raised their hand. If you've got questions in the chat, like this can be a discussion. We're here to talk together. Thank you.
All right, Ken Paulman.
Yeah, hi. I'm Ken Paulman. I'm the director of the Energy News Network. And in terms of that bigger question, we were launched as a regional sort of news aggregation service originally. And the entire concept was people working on climate change and working on the energy transition. If you're in Minnesota, it's hard to keep track of what's going on in Michigan or what's going on in Ohio. And that's what we were originally started to do, and we still do that. And so there is value when you're, covering a community very closely. You tend to not look outside the community because who has time for that? But there's a lot to be learned from the way other states, other cities might be addressing there are problems, there are topics that are broadly everybody experiences, but they play out differently in different communities in different states. And so I'd say one outcome or benefit, to the audience we serve is having that broader understanding of what's going on elsewhere. And I think that would assume that would also be true in the communities served by the organizations we partner with.
Absolutely. All right, Corinne, would you like to go next? There we go. Okay.
There we are. Sorry, I had to unmute. Kind of similar to what Ken was just talking about is we would really like to be doing more solutions focused coverage, and knowing what other rural communities are doing to address challenges in their communities, and being able to then translate that for our own readership of, we have this problem, here's how these people in a similar community are addressing that. Right now, the only kind of outlet to do that is, you throw it up on Slack or out on the listserv. So I would, something where solutions are being addressed. The other thing for us, it would be expertise. We are we're a very small newsroom in a rural area, and there are a lot of things that we want to cover and issues that we're facing, and expertise not only in the forms of experts in other communities, but also expertise in other newsrooms in how to cover, how to deal with the information, where to look. I would love that.
Great. Yeah, I think we heard that quite a few times, is newsrooms would love to work with other newsrooms who have really strong visuals or data or experts in certain areas that they don't. So that'll definitely be a part of our focus, is making sure that we have a nice mix of skills and experts so that everybody can benefit. All right, Michelle.
Hi, of course, my dogs start barking as soon as I start talking, so sorry about that. For our community, at the Central Valley Journalism Collaborative, we are really mission driven towards working with our other newsrooms in our region. We're in Central California, very rural, you know, typical problems that go along with being rural and underserved. So I have it built into our DNA to work with other newsrooms up and down the valley. Sometimes that is a challenge because we're all focused on our immediate communities and try and figure out how to strike that balance to lift up the stories that actually impact all of our communities while allowing each newsroom to serve its immediate community is something that we would love some guidance on.
Great. All right. Barbara?
Good morning, everyone. Barbara Peterson with the Florida Center for Government Accountability. We publish the Florida Trident. And our newsroom is very small, what INN calls a micro newsroom. Our focus is on government accountability. And for the last year, we've had really good luck collaborating with public radio stations around Florida. There are 11, and we have formal collaborative agreements with about 6. But those agreements and our collaboration with those newsrooms is us sharing our work with the NPR station, and then they either create their own broadcast or it's based on our reporting, and they publish our work on their websites. What we're wanting to do, however, is move into a different type of collaboration where we work with small online newsrooms like us, like ours, to collaborate on the reporting of a story that neither of us, neither our collaborator nor the Trident could do because of our lack of resources, and that's both money and staff. And so we're trying to figure out how to do that, how to structure those collaborations, because we'll need to find reporters, we'll need to raise money, and how do we share responsibilities and exactly how do we create those collaborations? I guess that's my big question.
All right. Yes, that is exactly what we were aiming to help with. Great. Okay, a few hands are still raised. Susan, did you have something more to add? Or maybe your hand is
No,
up.
sorry, I think I don't know how to. I'm not sure how to do that. Let's just
You're
see.
good.
Let
You're
me give
good.
it
Don't worry. All right. Just making sure I'm not ignoring anybody. All right. So, okay. So originally, but I think now because you all heard each other, we just want you to think a little bit based on the answers that we all heard. You can see how some of you might work really well together because what you're aiming for is the same end result, whether that's environmental issues or a more equal distribution of work or whatever that end result is. So this is how we will be thinking about it when we build the pilot. There are so many wonderful newsrooms who want to collaborate. We really want to help match newsroom based on your mission, based on your values, and really help you achieve the same end result that you're interested in. So, okay, let's go to your next. Okay, gonna do this. All right. So our next step is to launch a pilot. So part of what this webinar is we are talking about our pilot, which will launch in September of this year. We're going to pick 5 newsrooms for this pilot, and that is partially based on those answers to that question. And that is only because we want to help newsrooms work together who are all interested and achieving the same goals for their communities. There will be tons of newsrooms who want to be a part of this and who could work really well together. So part of that final resource will be building a directory so that you guys can find each other, contact each other, and be able to collaborate on your own as well, outside of if you don't end up in this pilot, or even if you do, we are going to build a resource that will help you do more collaborations in the future without us being involved. And then a big part of that resource, because of our interviews with you guys will be collective fundraising guidance. So talking about how to get funding, where to get funding, the different types of funding, and of course, project management guidance. We're building a bunch of worksheets, templates, scripts, things that can help you think through the whole process, keep track of what you're doing, and really guide that collaboration along so that those communication issues don't get in the way of the end result.
And can I add
So-
just a couple
yeah.
a couple notes there real quick, Kat?
Yeah.
Go back a slide. So for those of you who have been involved in INN collaborations before, this is going to be structured very differently in that we really are leaving it kind of wide open for the participants to choose what they want to collaborate on and actually like what that collaboration produces. So it may be a series of stories, or it could be a series of engagement events, or it could, you know, whatever the group decides is their direction to go. We're really here to provide support and really test if the resources we're developing will work as sort of that plug and play approach for, just like Barbara was talking about, figuring out how to do these collaborations sort of on your own, without necessarily needing to bring in an external organization to run it for you, at least right away. And so I would say we're really looking for people who are willing and interested in experimenting together to drive this forward. There is not like funding available day one for you. We would work together to find that funding for what you want to do. It's really going to be newsroom led. And I think the other key component to consider here, and those of you who have worked with me before know I love to say, if it's not the right fit for you, please, I love it when people say it's not the right fit because it saves us a lot of time and energy, right? You need to be very transparent, not only within this pilot group, but also for the purposes of the resource guide, because we're going to be sort of tracking this pilot for the purposes of the guide. So, you know, for everything from like taking photos of people working on this project to sharing the things that did not go well, as well as the things that did go well. And so if you're not in a zone right now to do that kind of self-directed experimentation and that transparency, this particular pilot probably won't be the right fit for you, but there's always lots more opportunities.
Yes, absolutely. So Jim, I did see your answer. That is really interesting. And I think that does present a major access barrier. We actually did a challenge a year ago on literacy, and it was very eye-opening as far as how we get our news and information to people in a way that they can understand and they can access. So this is now we're open for questions. Our contact info is on the screen, the deadline, the question. We would love to hear from you guys. Please feel free to email us. As we said, it is just to help guide us in finding the right fit for the pilot so that you guys really benefit from it. But now, yeah, we are happy to answer any questions about the pilot, the resource, or this project. Barbara, do you have a question? Your hand is up, but I'm not sure if that's from before.
No, I have a question.
Okay, go for it.
In responding to this question, is it appropriate to include on the answer one of the newsrooms that we are talking to about a collaboration, or should I just answer the question on by myself?
Yeah, great question. Yes, absolutely. If you have a newsroom that you are interested in working with, whether it's someone in the room today where you heard their answer and you were like, man, I really want to collaborate with Jim or Becky or Amanda or whoever said something that really strikes a chord with you, please feel free to do that. If you also have a newsroom that you're just interested in working with that isn't here today but wants to be a part of this, we would also love to hear that. So yes, please feel free to share as much as you want in that answer, as detailed as you want. Some people's answers are quite long, some are quite short. That's fine. We're just looking for getting a feeling for what you would like to get out of the next collaboration that we do with you. All right, Nina, go ahead.
Hey, so I really love the idea of experimenting, and not just kind of going into this saying this is going to be a set of stories. I
Mhm.
think that it'd be really interesting to, sorry, there's like all kinds of things popping up at me. Okay, got it. I think it would be really interesting to coordinate with other newsrooms and try this in trying to come up with some kind of community listening
Mhm.
approach or engagement approach. It seems like everybody's really interested in that. I guess I don't know if I have a question. I'm just kind of reflecting what I've heard so far. I guess maybe my question is like, is there going to, I know I responded already, kind of like from the orientation of what our newsroom is thinking about right now, really trying to answer people's questions about, in our case, it was the wildfire smoke,
Mhm.
and providing information. But I really feel like we need to do a lot more engagement and listening around that. And I feel like there would be benefit in coming up with some tactics as a group and trying to figure out what, how to implement those in different communities. So I guess my question is, should I respond again, or I guess throwing it out there, is anybody else interested in that kind of an approach?
Yeah, absolutely. So you can send it to us again, and if we hear other people say that, but that will be something that once the newsrooms are chosen, that will be a part of the process, is we will give you guys the time and the space to think through your options for the collaboration. Because obviously we don't want to assume that the collaboration will just be stories that you co-publish or work on together.
Right.
There's so many different facets of journalism now that could be really useful. So I think a listening tour would be a great collaboration, and then learning from each other and from our community. So please feel free to send us another answer. I'm compiling them all, so you can email us as many times as you'd like.
Yeah, and to get a little meta for a moment here, this is our sort of first part of the toolkit, this very question, starting with the idea of change for your communities, because I think often newsrooms are starting with the idea of like what the newsrooms are going to be doing. And we were wondering what would happen if the entire process starts with this question and how you come together around that. And then Nina, I think absolutely looking at community engagement as part of that could be very, very useful. The other one thing I'll say real quick is that, as you're considering answering this question, considering what journalism this could make possible working collectively that would not happen individually. And I think I'm hearing a lot around not only community engagement, but expertise or resources, right, at other newsrooms. And so that's a big component of the conversation moving forward for sure.
All right. And Megan, did you have a question or a comment?
Yes, sorry, I joined a little bit late. I was wondering if you could provide just a quick overview of what being involved in this pilot looks like.
Sure. Bridget, do you want to take that one?
Yeah, sure. So again, we're leaving it very open-ended. However, we've sort of framed it out to be around, what did we say, 6 months, Kat, starting in September. And then the group would come up with for what they want to pursue. We do think it's really important for the purposes of the guide that there is a fundraising component for people participating in collaboration, because that is a big area of questioning. And so you need to work together to raise money for whatever you want to do. And then other than that, it would involve regular check-ins at the discretion of the group. I mean, we really are trying to leave it open to what you feel is necessary to achieve your goals. And so to a certain extent, I think, Megan, the answer is going to be what the newsrooms who are chosen end up designing for themselves. Kat and I will be here throughout the process as resources, and also just making sure that everything's moving along smoothly. But other than that, it's hopefully going to be something that is very plug and play with the resources we're putting together based on the work we've done so far. And if you have follow-up questions on that kind of nebulous answer, feel free to ask them.
Yeah.
So
Oh, go ahead.
I was just going to follow up real quick. So basically what I'm hearing is you're providing resources and guidance as each newsroom collaboration moves forward with their project.
Yeah, so the newsrooms will work together on a collaboration. So what that looks like will be up to the newsrooms chosen. So whether it's like a listening tour like Nina talked about, or it's a set of stories, or it's one in-depth investigation, you guys will define that. And then we will be here to support, give you resources to help you talk through the important decisions, to plan out your collaboration, to figure out funding. But we will have you guys will actually move forward with the collaboration with us as support, so that we can see how that works and what is helpful, what isn't helpful, what extra support you might need that we didn't think about. So it's kind of like doing a collaboration with our guidance and support, but we're also going to be looking at what else do you need that we haven't thought of, or what else could be useful. So it's very much going to be a transparent process, but then you will also get our help. So we are happy to provide as much support as needed to sort of get you guys on the right track for whatever you decide to do.
Sounds great. Thank you.
Okay. Any other questions? I don't see any other hands. No more questions. All right. Well, if there are no other questions, everyone might be thinking for a second, but please feel free to email us. For those of you that were also on the email that we sent out last week, we included our Calendly links. Please feel free to set up a one-on-one with me or Bridget. If you have questions you just don't want to say here, which we totally understand. If you want to talk through this more, if you just want to share with us what you would like to see in this final resource, the whole point of this project is to build something that can help everyone collaborate in a smoother, faster, more supportive way to get the funding that you guys need. So we really want to be useful, and we really want what we build to really help you guys. So any conversations, any notes, anything that you'd like to send us, we'd love to hear it. So we're really excited for that. And then reminder, the deadline is this week. So make sure you send us a note if you want to be considered for participation in this, because at the end of the week, we'll start looking over all the submissions and figuring out what that pilot will look like. And then in a few weeks, we'll get you guys together and let you know who ends up in that project as we move forward. Bridget, anything you'd like to add as we wrap up?
We'll just do one more moment. I always say, as a reporter, one of my best tools was just leaving uncomfortably long silences to be filled. So one more moment for final questions, thoughts, what else we need to know. Michael, yes.
All right, go ahead, Michael.
Hi, along the lines of, well, I'm particularly interested, although we collaborate in a lot of different ways with a lot of different newsrooms and non-newsroom organizations. But I think what really excites me personally is working with other editors and project managers to synthesize a high-level concept for a collaboration that kind of is venue agnostic. So, you know, rural and urban together, because sometimes some of the most profound insights can come with comparing the two. For example, what is homelessness? You know, what does the response to homelessness under a certain federal policy look like in urban and rural communities, et cetera? But the other question I had was kind of back to RJI about tools that you may have already identified, and your ability to hook this collaboration up with, for example, tech platforms that could facilitate that kind of communication, or whether you find that the least common denominator is Slack and Google Docs and just sort of basic things that people are already familiar with.
Yeah, so yes. So I do think tools are always useful, and those are great. Part of what we found was Slack is very useful, but as most of us know, like, I don't know about you guys, but I have like 20 Slack spaces on my desktop. So at some point, not it becomes less useful, but it becomes part of the like noise that you're constantly having to work through to figure out communication. The tools we have found, which is part of what we'll be doing for this collaboration, is it's really important to have face-to-face time to talk through decisions, to talk through content, viewpoints, mission, and values. So a big part of the resources that we will be providing for you guys, although we're happy to also provide platforms for data scraping or organization, Notion, Airtable, whatever we can help you guys. But the main thing we'll be providing is guiding you through what decisions you need to think about ahead of time, the timeline for projects, what things need to be decided at the beginning. Like a big thing that we go through, which some of you were at the CJS workshop, is thinking about like what your deal breakers are, thinking about where you need or want or don't want funding to come from, thinking about how decisions will be made. So how does everybody sign off on something before it becomes published or it goes public? Thinking through all that minutiae of what decisions and what people are in every conversation. That's really a big part of what we'll be providing. And then whatever tools you guys want to use, you would be able to tell us, hey, we really want to be on a project management tool for this. And then maybe me and Bridget go, okay, we'll help you set up Airtable or Notion or Asana or whatever works well for you, or something in Slack that sends out automated reminders, or like we're here to help with that, but we really want it to be driven by what you guys as a collaboration need and want to make this successful for you. Sorry, that's a really long answer, but yes, we're trying to really be guided by you guys. We have a ton of resources, but we want to make sure that it's a good fit for you and we don't just assume that you need something. All right. Any other questions? All right, I guess we will let you guys go. Please feel free to email us, set up a meeting with us, whatever you would like. We're very excited for this pilot. We're so thankful that all of you came out to chat with us today. And we loved all your answers. It's going to be really hard to choose the newsroom. So we're just really excited to get started. And we can't wait to talk to you more very soon.
Thank you, everybody.